It's starting to look like a huge upset in the making. Marine Le Pen is being predicted to sail to an easy victory in today's crucial election in France. As of this morning, betting odds have made a complete 180-degree flip. Flipping from favoring the tax-evading globalist with the deep-seated mummy issues, Emmanuel Macron, to the Trump-like Marine Le Pen, who promises to bring France out of its Islamic nightmare it's gotten itself into. The Sphinx reports as to why this is a must-win for Marine Le Pen and the future of France. Today's French presidential election is one of the most significant elections in recent memory, and it contains two candidates who represent two diametrically opposed views of the future of France: Emmanuel Macron of the centrist En Marche, and Marine Le Pen of the right-wing Le Front National. Le Pen is the clear underdog and she is behind in the polls by over 10 points. Effectively, the outcome looks like a foregone conclusion, but due to the polls being so horribly wrong in predicting both Brexit and Trump, we cannot rule her victory out. Marine Le Pen is an extremely contentious and divisive figure in global politics, especially as the Le Pen family has connotations with Nazism, as her father, Jean-Marie Le Pen, denied the extent of the genocide in the Holocaust. Many of Le Pen's policies are indefensible, but there is one that appeals: her opposition to the European Union. The European Union has been in existence for 6 decades and is in need of desperate and significant reform to solve its undemocratic characteristics. France has been on the receiving end of its undemocratic ways. France was forced to accept a redrafted version of the constitutional treaty in the form of the Lisbon Treaty, when the country in 2005 rejected the constitutional treaty. The European Union imposes its policies by diktat, an insult to democracy. As an economic union, the EU was tolerable, but that toleration has dwindled since it became a political union. One of the reasons the EU was established was to provide solutions to international problems that no one country alone could solve. It hasn't even managed to do that. The recent mismanagement of the refugee crisis, where there was no clear leadership, illustrates that the EU is not fit for purpose. Merkel advocated an open border policy, which was a calamitous decision that has led to a deterioration in social tensions in Germany. Whereas Hungary held an illegitimate referendum which rejected the EU's migration quotas, thus stalling the policy-making process. For the EU to work, it needs an overarching objective, a goal, not 27 different ones. When there is no common goal, nothing can be achieved. If France remained in the EU, it would continue to be dominated by Germany. Germany will continue to remain in control and be the leading voice on all EU affairs. Germany would continue to dictate economic policy since Germany has the largest economy and is heavily responsible for Eurozone success. A Macron-led France would allow continuous German domination. Ultimately, for the EU to collapse, which it ought to, France must leave, and only Le Pen can make that happen. France is an undoubtedly proud nation, and that pride has diminished due to the pressing issue of terrorism and security, where France has been wrongly targeted. France is experiencing social dislocation, where the French community and non-French community are not integrating. This has been profoundly accentuated by the relentless onslaught of terrorism over the past 18 months. As a result, there has been a massive increase in Islamophobia within France. Unfortunately, like in 1968, France is once again a divided nation. Liberté, égalité, fraternité will be restored under a Le Pen France, as opposed to Macron, where there would be unwanted continuity. There was a belief known as La France Profonde, which insinuated that a distinct culture within ancient French towns would exist irrespective of how globalized France was. Globalization, however, has had a stark impact on the ancient towns such as Albi, to the extent where the local population have questioned their nationhood. It is argued that France cannot be considered France without the distinctive, quaint cities which define what it means to be French. A Le Pen presidency would redefine the term French, something of which has been blurred by globalization. Le Pen would be the best opportunity for France to regain its economic vitality by protecting the French economy through tariffs. The media portray protectionism as a backwards stance which would reduce France's economic stature. Le Pen would also adopt a tough stance on corporations, exemplified by it reportedly threatening a 35% on Whirlpool imports, proposed after it was announced that a Whirlpool factory would be moved from Amiens in northern France to Poland. Also, she wants to take France out of the euro, which will increase the competitiveness of French industry as exports will be cheaper. In consequence, this would help solve France's chronic unemployment issue, where over 25% of the youth are unemployed. Le Pen should win, but it is unlikely this time. If she manages to attain 40%, which is the share expected, it would be far from a disaster. Unless Macron placates the anti-establishment and Eurosceptic sentiment, which he clearly won't, as he is part of the establishment and a Europhile, then this sentiment will rise again. Le Pen will have a better chance of victory in 2022 when Macron's underperformance is clear to see. What is even more surprising is that Le Pen is actually placing as a 10-1 favorite today, while Macron is given a 1-16 odd of winning the French presidential election. This would have been an unheard of number just 24 hours ago. Many experts are attributing this sharp rise on the one-liner Le Pen had during the final presidential debate, where she said in closing, "No matter who wins the French presidential election, France will be governed by a woman," taking a fatal swipe at the fact Macron married his current wife, who's 25 years older than him, whom he met when he was 15. This was later referred to as one of the biggest political assassinations in the history of the world. Many experts are attributing this sharp rise to the one-liner Le Pen had during the final presidential debate, where she said in closing, "No matter who wins the French presidential election, France will be governed by a woman," taking a fatal swipe at the fact Macron married his current wife, who's 25 years older than him, who was his teacher when he was only 15. This was later referred to as one of the biggest political assassinations in the history of the world. If you consider that just this past Friday all odd makers were placing Macron as a sure win. By contrast, in the United States presidential election where Donald Trump shellacked Hillary Clinton in the biggest upset in presidential election history, Hillary was being placed as a 93% chance to win the presidency. When far left-wing pollsters started sounding the alarm the day before the election, they had Clinton at a 73% chance to win. Even on the day of the election, Clinton was at 69% chance. And we all know what started to happen around 6 p.m. PST when Florida officially went to now President Donald Trump. A Le Pen victory would be a huge for the French people, and a big pie in the face for failed former US President Barack Hussein Obama, who, because he can't seem to control himself, endorsed the globalist Macron. Follow us on Facebook at Freedom Daily.